Now, as you all know, there's been a lot of things going on with The Mandalorian Season 3, where people out there like Pedro Pascal, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni have been unveiling a lot of new truths and honesty about the overall season, of course, that was mishandled by no other than Kathleen Kennedy, really placing her hand in the script, changing things around, deleting specific scenes, and really forcing Jon and Dave to write out special moments for Boba Fett, Ahsoka Tano from the script. It was a lot of drama, and it was all unneeded, especially for a third big season as big as, of course, Mando. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support, and without wasting too much of your time, let's dive right into the subject. Now, the thing about the whole Pedro Pascal fired situation, we've been talking about this on and off, and new developments keep on arising out of this whole entire scenario for the show Skeleton Crew, for his specific cameos as Din Djarin, and it only gets worse and worse with new developments that keep on emerging. Now, what's interesting about this one in particular has a lot to do with what Kathleen Kennedy was forcing Pedro Pascal to do that led to him standing up for himself, that led to creative differences, and then to a lot of arguments about how his character was being so mishandled and disrespected, essentially. Now, as you all know, a lot of fans did not like the quote-unquote bait and switch of Mando Season 3. A lot of fans felt like that was the case, at least in the third one, where it was focusing more so on Bo-Katan instead of Din Djarin. Well, as it turns out, there was a real motive behind all of that, and we're going to be tapping into this right now. So, right now, Disney and Lucasfilm are beginning to right-size their upcoming Star Wars projects. However, one of the big developments involving the Pedro Pascal firing situation recently, of course, ever since Pedro was fired by Kathy as Din Djarin for the Skeleton Crew series specifically, new developments have been emerging. As it turns out, one of the other big factors as to why Pedro was let go by Kennedy for his cameos in the series had much to do with the fact that Kennedy was forcing Pedro to act in a scene that he actually knew was going to be very controversial and would lead to a divide in the fandom. Now, this scene consisted of a segment in which Pedro was instructed by both Kennedy and John Watts to act in a sequence where Din Djarin was going to turn into an overly comedic character with Marvel-esque humor attached to his dialogue. However, not just that, but there was also a scene that she was pushing on Pedro where Din was going to seemingly be killed off on board of a large ship explosion. But there's more to the story than just that. However, as it turns out, Kennedy was planning to have a brand new character, a new Mandalorian, to take Din Djarin's armor and wear it as becoming the new Din Djarin. Now, let me just stop right here for a sec. Now, this is beginning to make a lot more sense as to why Kathleen Kennedy was stripping his character in Mando Season 3 in preparation for the Skeleton Crew series. Alright, so as you all know about this, there's been a lot of things going on with the fan backlash against how Din was mishandled in Season 3, how the character seemingly was watered down on purpose. There was a lot of things coming out of this, and it's unfortunate that that was the case, but it was the case. Even Jon and Dave admitted that, Kathy wanted to focus less on Din Djarin in this story, or in this season. And look, if they want to focus on multiple Mandalorians, I say call the show The Mandalorians, But looking at everything related to this in that sense, this is just downright disrespectful, it's against the fans, and there's more to the story than what we just talked about. So let's actually dive into this. Now, this Mandalorian character that was set to take over his armor and claim herself as the new Din Djarin, essentially, was described to be a female character with long black hair that was planned out in the storyboards earlier on, and in the scripts where Kennedy wanted his character to be killed off and swapped out. However, Disney executives prevented all of this from happening shortly after Pedro was fired and let go after not agreeing with this approach. This is said to be why Kennedy was excluding and reducing Din Djarin's screen time in Mando Season 3 in preparing for killing him off in Skeleton Crew and having a new Mandalorian taking and sporting his armor. Pedro knew going in that this would completely backfire and spoke up and stood up for himself, basically, is what he was doing. And this fell into aggressive arguments. Now, here's the thing about this, is that it just really kind of bothers me, the fact that Kennedy would go this far to make such a proposal, to make such a scene in the scripts of Skeleton Crew, to kill off Djarin, leaving his armor behind, only for it to be picked up by a new character that nobody really cares about. So again, I'm glad that Pedro stood up for himself. I'm glad that he actually defended his character and defended the fans. But the fact that you have somebody like Jon Watts on a project like this, where they wanted to make the character not only overly comedic into a Marvel-esque character, cracking jokes and doing all these different things, it just does not fit the character at all in my book. But separate from that, Kennedy really wanted to go through with this plan. She literally wanted to kill off the character of Djarin. She wanted to replace him with somebody else that was going to be a female-driven character, taking Din's armor and seemingly claiming to be the new Djarin, in a sense. I don't know about you guys, but that bothers me. Not on a creative scale, but also on the fact that it's just really disrespecting Pedro as an actor. This guy is getting more roles left and right and is becoming more successful. Why would you devalue such a big role as Djarin like this at the snap of a finger like that in Skeleton Crew? Now, we know that the pirates were going to be a very big deal in contributing to this quote-unquote sacrifice of Djarin on board of this shuttle or this ship, where he places explosives on there, and there's something very important on there. The full story is kind of mysterious, but he sacrifices himself, and that's where his death meets, of course, up with the character. Now, in the beginning stages, surprisingly, this was supposed to be a fake-out, where Kennedy wanted to make it seem like Din was killed off, but not really. Then that actually evolved and turned out to be Kennedy pursuing the overall approach of actually taking the character out, leaving his armor behind to be picked up by a new character. Again, complete mishandling of Djarin, complete mishandling of the Star Wars fandom, poor leadership skills, and just to add more onto the list, not respecting Jon Favreau's piece of work. This is all Jon Favreau's idea. Djarin was his idea. He wanted to create a brand new character entirely that would resonate with fans for years to come. And you know what? So far he has. He's become very iconic. And it doesn't surprise me in the least that Kathleen Kennedy wouldn't want to strip him down and replace him with somebody else. Now again, I think that Skeleton Crew right now, given that it's a mixture of The Goonies, Stranger Things, and Star Wars, and yes, she's always taking ideas from other shows and putting it into the franchise. I'm not quite sure how the tone of this movie is going to work with fans, but anyways, guys, I would love to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to moon.